آزادی بیان
言论自由
free speech.
In October 2011, you were attacked by members of two extremist Hindu groups for your view that there should be a referendum on Kashmir's independence. Many have since denounced you and called for your prosecution. Some, including Anna Hazare, a member of your anti-corruption campaign, have publicly distanced themselves from you. Why was it so important for you to speak out?
Well, my remarks came in the context of during a press conference where I was talking about the need to deepen democracy and make it more participatory by allowing the people directly to voice their opinions on important issues of public interest, including important policy decisions and laws, which should be directly taken into consideration in the framing of those policies and laws. And I said that this could be done through a process of referendums, which could be held nationally if the issue was a national one, or in a state if the issue concerned a state, or locally if it was a local issue. On that, one journalist asked me whether referendum could also be a way of addressing the Kashmir problem. And I said that I could only express my personal views and should not be taken to be expressing the views of Team Anna or Anna Hazare. And when he pressed me for my personal views, I said that look, there is tremendous alienation among the people of Kashmir from India, and this needs to be urgently addressed. And part of this reason, or the main reason for this alienation, is the human rights violations which are taking place at the hands of the security forces there. And that is also happening because of the impunity given to them on account of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. And therefore the application of this act needs to be withdrawn. This impunity currently given to the security forces needs to be withdrawn. And thereafter the army needs to be gradually withdrawn from the civilian areas. After which we should try and win back the confidence of the people there. But if we are still unable to do that, then yes, a referendum could be a way of addressing the problem, because ultimately the main stakeholders in Kashmir are the people of Kashmir. It's not India or Pakistan. And therefore, whatever be the political solution of that problem, it has to primarily be on the basis of the wishes of the people of Kashmir.
In India, a country where religious and caste tensions have spilled over into violence in the past, the government often cites the need to maintain national unity and public order in order to curtail free speech. But is it justified in doing so?
Well, in fact, this issue relating to the law of sedition, as to sedition is an old section in the Indian Penal Code, which says that spreading disaffection against the government is an offense of sedition. And this question arose whether mere spreading disaffection against the government could amount to an offense when the right to free speech is a guaranteed fundamental right, guaranteed by the Constitution. And there the Supreme Court, while interpreting the provision of sedition, said that only if you are inciting violence or public disorder can it be said to be an offense. Otherwise, even if you are exciting disaffection against the government or even against the state without inciting violence or public disorder, that cannot be said to be an offense, and that would be protected by a fundamental right.
In May 2007, the Indian government censored a map of Kashmir in The Economist because it showed the region divided between India, Pakistan and China. They literally put a black sticker over the map. What do you think the consequences are of trying to cover up the fact that Kashmir is contested territory and of silencing debate, both for those within the state but also in the rest of India?
Well, I don't think that this kind of attitude helps anyone, because continuing to assert that Kashmir is an integral part of India, you may make that assertion ad nauseum, but it doesn't help things on the ground. See, if there is disaffection among the people of Kashmir from India, that disaffection needs to be addressed. You cannot address it by having a huge army presence there and by suppressing the people by using force. If you continue to do that, the disaffection will continue to rise until a stage will come when we will start seeing suicide terrorism in Kashmir as well. And if that happens, Kashmir would go out of control and go up in flames, and it will become another Afghanistan. Nobody wants that kind of thing to happen. It's not in anybody's interest. And therefore, we need a political resolution of the problem of Kashmir. And there is no point in just asserting that it's an integral part of India. I mean, that also can be contested in international fora as well, because this whole issue of the whole history of the accession of Kashmir to India it all happened in very contested and controversial circumstances. And therefore, this is certainly an issue open to debate, both within India and in the international fora. And for anybody to assert that, look, nobody can question Kashmir's accession to India or Kashmir being an integral part of India, quite apart from not being historically or legally a correct proposition, does not help things in any way, does not help in resolving the problem.
We have a principle that says we must be free to challenge all limits to free expression justified on such grounds as national security, public order, and morality. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I agree with this principle entirely, and the Supreme Court has also said that so long as any view is not intended or is not exciting public disorder or violence, even if it is a view which contests the very idea of India, or even if it contests the government's notion of public security, etc., does not mean that it cannot be expressed, because unless free expression of thoughts and ideas is allowed, you cannot have an open debate or discussion on issues which go to the very root of what needs to be done to resolve such basic fundamental issues like Kashmir.
There are lots of examples when violence or threats of violence have silenced individuals in India. A well-known example is the artist M.F. Hussain, who lived out his final days in exile for fear of violent reprisals from right-wing Hindu groups who were outraged by his paintings of nude Hindu goddesses. What do you think the impact of these threats or violent acts have been?
Well, it has had a very negative impact, and unfortunately it has to a very large extent resulted in stilling this debate on an issue like Kashmir, a free and frank debate, as a result of which many people are afraid to freely express themselves. And the consequence of that is that you are not able to reach a proper and correct resolution of such very deep-rooted problems, as a result of which they continue to fester and eventually become unmanageable. So therefore, it is a serious problem, and unfortunately there are these semi-fascist groups in India which have unfortunately been allowed to go on and become powerful. Some of them, like the Shiv Sena, have come to occupy positions of power and form governments in the country. And these are clearly, in my view, fascist or semi-fascist organizations which need to be really strongly curbed, because they certainly issue threats of violence against those whose views they do not like.
We have a principle that says we neither make threats of violence nor accept violent intimidation. What do you think about this principle?
No, I agree entirely with this. And these fascist groups which make threats of violence continue to grow only because people get intimidated by their threats. And if people were to stand up and stop being intimidated, then these groups will diminish in influence and would be more easily curbed.
A final question. India is the world's largest democracy, and free speech is considered to be a cornerstone of democracy, but does it exist in India?
Well, it exists to a reasonable extent, but there are attempts which are made from time to time to curb it by the government occasionally, by seeking to charge people of sedition, for just espousing views which the government does not like, or even by these semi-fascist groups which indulge in violence against those who express views that they do not like. So it is a problem, though I would not say that there isn't a fair amount of freedom of speech in India. There is. People can still express themselves by and large.